Hello and welcome back to Cisco Live 2019 Barcelona. So what I always hear from my customers is they want to hear about Cisco, they want to hear the Cisco and Cisco stories, and of course security is a huge part of that. So I'm thrilled to be joined here by Rich and Marisa. Hi, how are you both doing?
Good, how are you?
Yeah,
well,
good, thank you.
Lisa.
So we're here to talk about IT and security, but before we do that, perhaps we can get a quick introduction and what do you do at Cisco?
Sure, my name is Merisa, Chancellor. I'm responsible for protecting Cisco. I'm part of our information security organization.
Great.
My name is Rich Gore. I'm in Cisco IT. I've been in Cisco IT infrastructure architecture for the last 20 years or so. And we work very, very closely with our InfoSec partners.
And I think we were having a discussion before, you were saying you've both been here for around 20, 21 years.
Yeah,
so,
long time.
Yeah, great. And Marissa, you were saying your husband's surname, it's quite unique,
Well,
isn't it?
so, I've been in IT for a long time, and I just moved to the security world about 3 years ago, but had I known what my job was going to be, I would have changed my last name to his, which is Hacker. so
So
I missed the
Hacker.
opportunity, yes.
Okay, so let's dive in. So what is the partnership between an IT like, and what are you seeing with some of the customers? What are some of the trends?
Well, when I talk to a lot of customers, and I think Cisco's not unique in having their information security organization separate from the IT organization. It is a true partnership. With other customers, we see InfoSec as part of IT. It's neither good nor bad, but the trend is moving to separating security out. And I think there's an increased focus on security and an importance, and it's affecting brands, so they just want to highlight and bring it up in the organizational structure as well.
The interesting thing to me is that it didn't start out that way. And for a lot of customers that we talk to, it doesn't start out that way.
Correct.
Just because IT is forced to do what the business needs, and we try to do it as quickly as we can and as soundly as we can. But usually security doesn't come into that. And so when we say, here's a really great offering, we really want to do this right now, we got to put it in place, and security says, sorry, it's not secure. We can't expose Cisco to the risk that you're proposing. And so a lot of times, it used to be a very confrontational relationship. What's amazing is it's really become a really true working partnership, where you can't separate IT and Cisco and security anymore.
I guess it has to be fully integrated. If you look at across all industries actually, but specifically, for example, I work in media, lack of security is just not an option in that kind of world. It's the core of their business as well.
It's
Very
part
true.
of your brand, and I think to Rich's point, if you try to bolt on security at the end, it causes problems with the business, but it's actually more expensive. And so our goal in the partnership is how do we move security left and actually start with security and not try to jam it in at the very end.
Absolutely.
Well, it's also true that we used to be really, really slow. I mean, there's very rarely an IT organization that's considered too fast. And the problem was that, well, no, not the problem. One of the many myriad of problems was that security review was always part of that. So it added extra time to the already slow times that we were doing in providing new business capabilities. So what we had to do to be able to speed this up was to work very closely together so that security was part of every step we made.
Absolutely. So if we look at some of the big kind of trends and things happening in the industry right now, things like AI, things like automation, what is Cisco doing in this space around security?
A tremendous amount of things. For us, automation is critical because the number of attacks has been increasing and the sophistication of attacks has been increasing too at the same time. It's very unfair. But without automation, without an enormous number of layers after layers after layers of defense in depth, we couldn't possibly look at all the different alerts that come around. We have to have automated tools that look at them and then say, this is a real alert, I'm just going to block it automatically. Nobody has to look at it. This is not an alert, we're going to let that all the way through. That's what automation does for us. And then artificial intelligence, well, there's still a few subtle things that get through all of those layers of filters. And there's no human being who can still look at the massive amounts of traffic that we have to look at. I mean, there's billions and billions of packets that go through every hour, and some of them have malware. So we use artificial intelligence tools that are pretty much put together, well, they physically put together by IT, but logically put together by InfoSec to figure out what isn't right, and then to raise the flag and say something has to be done about this one.
I mean, just as a side, we see 1.2 trillion security events on a daily basis. That's 6 times more search queries that Google gets in a day.
That's almost unimaginable. I can't actually think of that amount of breaches.
It's huge, yeah.
Yeah. So another thing, another big theme is multi-cloud, of course, everyone's talking about it. How does security work in there, and how is Cisco involved in that space?
I think wherever the business is moving, security has to move along with it. And I know we always talk about moving to the cloud. Companies have moved to the cloud. It's almost 100% of the companies have moved to the cloud, and we're seeing, about 80% of the companies have moved to a multi-cloud environment. And so, you have less control when it comes to the cloud, depending on where you are. If you're coming from an infrastructure as a service, you have more control versus, a SaaS offering. And so the same tenets apply in an enterprise security as do the cloud, but you have to be a little bit more creative because you don't have the ability to maybe put boxes and sensors in different places. And so for us, it's all about how do we gain visibility and how do we then get control over what's happening, whether it's in the application or in the network or in the cloud itself. So there's still a lot of work to be done, but that's what keeps our day job interesting.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So do you have any final advice for customers around security or anything else that you're seeing in the industry that you want to share, any insights?
I think for me it is, you can't protect what you can't see, so visibility, no matter what you're talking about, is absolutely critical. And I just talked to a customer yesterday, and part of the shift that needs to take place is not just around technology, but it's around the culture. And so we use a lot of metrics to help shape the culture of the organization by demonstrating who needs to be accountable for what and how they're doing.
Absolutely.
I think 2 things come to mind, and one is that when IT works very, very closely, intertwined with security, we can operate a lot faster and more productively than we used to. That's one. And the second thing that I get really excited about is the network is now the sensor. There's so many different network points of presence, points of intelligence that can see the traffic coming through. So we're using it to automate provisioning, automate assurance, automate troubleshooting and proactive response. But we're also handing all that information to InfoSec to be able to proactively look for possible malware and be able to see it no matter where it is, anywhere in the network, whether it's encrypted or not encrypted. It's just a tremendous new world.